The stunning beauty of the cultivation sect actually took out her own handkerchief to wipe this man's mouth. This move made both his main and side wives jealous. Blue Autumn Yun quickly resorted to using the flirting technique to cleverly defuse the situation. He finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the two blushing faces. This is too exciting. Back then, being surrounded by a group of tribulation crossing stage experts was not as dangerous as this. Fortunately, the yellow skinny book he is reading is rich in content and must be praised. He should continue to read more in the future. The crowd of fellow disciples all widen their eyes. This damn situation can actually be bluffed through. Many people also suddenly realized. It seems like they now understand the reason for their single status. The rejected Moon Han did not feel sad or upset. Instead, she quietly watched from the side. She kept opening and closing her mouth, as if trying to remind someone about an unclean area. But she was afraid of upsetting Blue Autumn Yun, and did not speak up. She had a completely gentle and lovely look, very lovable. Did this guy save the whole universe in his past life? He is actually being so well taken care of by the 4 beautiful women from the cultivation sect. What kind of ridiculous luck is this? Tao Yu was stunned as well. Even after scolding and yelling, he forgot what he was supposed to do next. He was so angry that he was shaking, and he finally figured it out. He had thought that the new disciple was quiet and ready to learn. Turns out, he was just being fed dog food emotionally. In the end, he watched quietly as they showed affection. As an outstanding disciple who had graduated many years ago and was now halfway to becoming an elder steward, he unexpectedly started eating dog food too. Bitterness filled his mouth, and the anger brewing in his chest grew stronger and stronger. Tao Yu couldn't help it, and once again angrily slammed the books on the table. He shouted loudly, "That coughing guy, stand up! Who are you? Which mountain are you from? And who taught you, elder?" Blue Autumn Yun hadn't spoken yet. The other new entry disciples clamored to answer one after another. He is Blue Autumn Yun, a disciple of 4th Elder Xuanji from Verdant Mist Peak. The name of Blue Autumn Yun is very famous within the cultivation sect, because he first manifested the dual variation spiritual root. And then he also defeated the 2nd Elder's direct disciple in a higher realm. Even the steward has heard of his name. Why is this person so popular with women? Is it because he has some special qualities? The girls next to Blue Autumn Yun looked at her with concern, which made him even more irritated. Good gracious, missing classes for 7 consecutive days, and causing trouble as soon as entering the class. Do you think this is a place where you can act recklessly? Neglecting your studies and lacking ambition, such behavior truly brings disgrace to the disciple, and is a shame to the cultivation sect. Other disciples also nodded in agreement, all cheering for Tao Yu. The entire first cloud pavilion suddenly became very lively. Blue Autumn Yun was a bit confused about what she had done wrong. Why did these people seem to hate her so much? Not sure if it's an illusion. He felt as if there were burning flames around him. It seemed like a group of dark sect disciples were unleashing their fiery anger. When the atmosphere was at its peak, Elegant Ling and Aurelia Luo glanced disapprovingly at the new disciples on both sides. Those disciples noticed they were being stared at by the beautiful women. Their voices gradually softened, and the flames simmered down. Eventually, they fell silent, and just grinned foolishly at the two women. Tao Yu's mouth twitched. These dogshit new disciples are really rubbish. They are so cowardly even when they are well-fed. But just as he was about to get angry, but suddenly he found Moon Han staring at him with her eyes fixed. The anger on Tao Yu's face vanished and turned into a silly smile. Moon Han, the Immortal Maiden, is really beautiful. She truly deserves to be my goddess. Tao Yu suddenly realized that Moon Han is the sect master's closed-door disciple. He didn't believe that two people with such different statuses could be together. Moon Han is likely here at First Cloud Pavilion as the Immortal Maiden. She is ordered by the sect master to listen and observe the qualities of the new disciple and instructor. If he doesn't handle this matter well, it will be troublesome if it gets reported. Tao Yu snorted coldly. Then he started various forms of criticism and education. His emotional speech directly called Blue Autumn Yun to the podium for criticism. Elegant Ling and Aurelia Luo are anxious. According to the rules of the cultivation sect, the authority of teaching and imparting lessons is very powerful. It directly affects the credit assessment of new disciples within the cultivation sect. If their scores are too low, they may even be demoted to the menial chores department. Aurelia Luo worriedly watched Blue Autumn Yun, hoping he could withstand Tao Yu's harsh criticisms. It would be troublesome if he caused any trouble. Tao Yu looked at Blue Autumn Yun coldly. I have been in the cultivation sect for several years. I have never seen such an arrogant person like you before. A 10,000-word self-criticism is due tomorrow to Gu Zhou, otherwise, you will bear the consequences. He deliberately imposed excessive punishments, hoping for Blue Autumn Yun to resist. This way, he would have a reason to deal with it. However, surprisingly, Blue Autumn Yun asked the steward to calm down. In fact, I have already mastered this spirit technique. When these words came out, the whole venue was in an uproar. Everyone widened their eyes. How dare you say such bold words? This is the windbreaker/second-rank spirit technique. You've been skipping classes continuously, and you haven't mastered several basic spirit techniques solidly. How dare you talk big? Are you trying to show off in front of girls like crazy? Elegant is also somewhat incredible. Blue Autumn Yun does have great talent. However, saying she has mastered it proficiently is indeed a bit overstated. Elegant Ling focused on listening to a lesson. She only learned some superficial knowledge. It will take some time for her to become familiar with and proficient in applying it. Aurelia Luo also knows how difficult this spirit technique is. She also spent a lot of time before mastering it. Tao Yu was amazed and looked at Blue Autumn Yun, who was worried about not being able to punish properly. Now it's getting interesting. So she decided to make him demonstrate it in front of her. Blue Autumn Yun hesitated for a moment. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to do this here? He felt a bit annoyed by the steward's deliberate provocation. He decided to teach him a lesson. Tao Yu narrowed his eyes. Deceiving the cultivation sect steward elder is a serious offense. Failure to demonstrate will result in severe punishment. Blue Autumn Yun's eyes widened slightly as she took a small step back. Her voice trembled slightly. I have indeed mastered it. But how about taking some time to recuperate today, since I'm not feeling well? Tao Yu chuckled as she watched Blue Autumn Yun's subtle movements, realizing that this person was indeed talking nonsense. You are feeling unwell, right? Okay, then there should be no problem showcasing at the arena tomorrow. If you pass, I will give you the certificate indicating the end of your coursework directly. However, if you fail to pass, all the courses under my responsibility will be marked as unsatisfactory for you. Blue Autumn Yun's voice trembled. Isn't this too serious? Can we choose a different consequence? How about I clean the toilets if I don't pass? Tao Yu laughed. You're backing out now? Let's go with doing some dirty work as the consequence. Now you're scared. What about all the boasting and showing off earlier? Okay then, since you're willing to do the work, let's add this condition. If you fail, all courses will be considered unsuccessful in addition to cleaning the toilets. If you pass, I'll give you the academic certificate. Additionally, I'll apologize and clean the toilets for you. Tao Yu did not give Blue Autumn Yun a chance to negotiate. She directly announced the end of the class. At this time, Gu Zhou and others felt secretly pleased. After holding in a lot of anger, they finally felt somewhat relieved. He actually admired Blue Autumn Yun for daring to claim that the course could be completed in a day, which was truly amazing. He intended to remind her when she had to write a 10,000-word self-criticism. He found several girls comforting each other, as if soothing a baby. He suddenly had a black expression on his face, like a piece of charcoal. Several friends beside him pulled Gu Zhou away and said, Don't look, it will be uncomfortable for a week if you see it, and for a month if you see it again. Let's go, anyway, this person will be unlucky tomorrow. The man was surrounded by 4 beautiful women from the cultivation sect in front, behind, left, and right. The sight broke the hearts of all who were there. Even Steward, who was in charge of teaching, couldn't bear to watch. He deliberately decided to give him a hard time. The next day, the Cultivate field was packed with new entry disciples practicing various spirit techniques, their attacks constantly flashing. Talia stood with hands behind back, moving around the Cultivate field. She scanned the new entry disciples' Cultivate progress. A burst of fire suddenly exploded forward. The wooden stakes were instantly engulfed and burned by the flames. Next to me, Ariel Moo's joyful shout came from one side. "Wow, that's great, it worked. The flame burst technique can be used like this too." At that moment, a burst of fireball surged forward like a fiery dragon. The flames instantly hit the wooden stake. Brilliant red flames filled the field of vision. The wooden stake turned into a pile of ashes in an instant. This is the correct practical method. Practice it again. Talia's mouth twitched. In addition to being angry, he was also shocked. The fierceness displayed by this flame is astonishing. The flame burst technique is a basic fire attribute spirit technique that belongs to the middle level of the first rank. It is relatively easy to learn, and one can grasp the basics in about a week. The difficulty is not very high, and the corresponding destructive power is not particularly great. But Blue Autumn Yun's usage completely exceeds the destructive power of the flame burst technique. Talia pondered and then slowly walked forward. Watching Blue Autumn Yun, who was surrounded by the three sisters from Verdant Mist Peak, another wave of sourness rose in her mouth. "Young man, I see that you can still execute the first-rank high-level spirit technique quite well. Show us the Windbreaker slash." To be honest, I'm not feeling very well today. Of course, what Blue Autumn Yun said is also true. He said he is now sucked by 2 women every day. I really can't take it. Talia doesn't care about this at all. He has given a day's time already. He demands Blue Autumn Yun to show up immediately. If it doesn't pass, all his courses will be considered unqualified. Blue Autumn Yun didn't say anything more. He walked up to a wooden stake. His palm extended, releasing spiritual energy outward, causing his clothes to float. Layers of wind slowly wrapped around his arms. Talia carefully observed Blue Autumn Yun's condition. The flow of spiritual energy in the body is very different from the technique Windbreaker slash. If it weren't for the airflow wrapped around his arms, one might even mistake Windbreaker slash for another spirit technique. Has this guy actually modified a spirit technique? How can a spirit technique be easily modified like this? Only elders from the cultivation sect can accomplish such a thing. Just at this moment, a disciple suddenly exclaimed, "This guy actually has 14 streams of chi swirling around his arm." Talia came to his senses and couldn't help but be surprised. Windbreaker slash has a brief charging period. Spiritual energy is transformed into streams of chi coiling around the arm. When it reaches a certain level, it will transform into successive slashes. The number of streams of chi coiled around the arm determines the subsequent number of slashes. In general, a Windbreaker technique cultivator is considered qualified if they can accumulate 7 streams of chi. 14 streams is already close to the limit. However, at this moment, Blue Autumn Yun has actually accumulated 17 streams of chi. Someone of his level can only gather up to 13 streams of chi at most. Moreover, bearing 13 streams already puts a significant strain. If not handled properly, there is even a risk of completely crippling the entire arm. But the guy in front of them looks relaxed as if he is not burdened at all. The streams of chi are gradually becoming sharper and are spreading outward. Talia widened his eyes. "You can release 17 streams of chi. You can strike the wooden stake. Today, as long as your 17 streams of chi can disperse outwards, I tell you, will devour this wooden stake on the spot." Then, the 17 streams of chi tore through the air swiftly, transforming into 17 slashing strikes. The white light interweaved and bloomed in the air. There was a faint sound of the sword breaking through the wind. Under the slashing strikes, the wooden stake transformed into a pile of broken wood. The whole scene suddenly erupted into an uproar. The second-rank spirit technique had actually been put into real combat, and it was still 17 strikes. Aurelia Luo blinked her eyes. Although they had witnessed it once last night, it still seemed unbelievable. Elegant Ling took a deep breath to calm herself down. When I was young, there was an old man dressed in rags. Take Blue Autumn to Ping in town. She heard that there are knowledgeable old people in the town. They said the spiritual artifact they carried was quite advanced. It may come from some major families or powers. However, when asked, they didn't say anything. Tao Yu had an expressionless face as he covered his mouth and coughed lightly, seemingly trying to break the silence and awkwardness. Internally, he was in a state of panic. His mind was filled with images of yesterday's conflicts. What panic? It's completely pretend. This kid is deliberately tricking himself. The proof of passing the course is easy to come by. But cleaning the toilet? Isn't it humiliating for a steward? His brain quickly turned, and he suddenly thought of something, looking up abruptly. Bring out the 10,000-word self-criticism. If this guy can't come up with a 10,000-word self-criticism, then he has an excuse to act evasive. Since Windbreaker / can be executed, he must be dissatisfied and will definitely not write that self-criticism. Gu Zhou heard Tao Yu shouting, "Self-criticism!" and immediately pushed through the crowd to walk over. He picked up a thick stack of paper and handed it over. "Steward Senior Brother, this is Blue Autumn Yun's self-criticism." Tao Yu took it and almost vomited blood upon seeing it. This guy really wrote a 10,000-word self-criticism. Have you already mastered Windbreaker /? Why do you still have to write a self-criticism? Are you toxic? He glanced through and found not just one, but 5 10,000-word self-criticisms. What the heck is going on? Tao Yu, holding the thick stack of paper, was a bit confused. In the past few days, it seems that Blue Autumn Yun is the only one being punished. Why are there 5 self-criticisms here? He quickly flipped through them, and found that among the 4, the handwriting was elegant and full of spiritual energy. It looked like the handwriting of a beautiful girl. Then he noticed that the signatures at the end of the self-criticisms were all from Blue Autumn Yun. Many disciples gathered around Tao Yu. Just by lifting their heads a little, they could see the content of the self-criticisms. At a glance, the few people who made eye contact also understood. Nima's sister helped with the writing. Blue Autumn Yun looked at the thick stack of paper in surprise. Turning around, she exclaimed, "You helped me write the self-criticism." Aurelia Luo doted on Blue Autumn Yun and worried that Junior Brother would sulk and not write it. If there is a punishment, it would be troublesome. So she stayed up all night to help write 10,000 words. Elegant Ling nodded, and I also thought he wouldn't write it. In the middle of the night, covered with a blanket, I racked my brains to come up with 10,000 words. It turns out he wrote it. Ariel Mu was also in tears, with tears shimmering in her eyes. If I had known you guys would help me write, I wouldn't have struggled so much. I stayed up all night writing, all night long. Now my mind is full of apologies. The 3 girls, with beautiful faces, blinked their eyes together and looked at Blue Autumn Yun, seeming to be aggrieved and complaining about why she didn't tell them. Blue Autumn Yun made Tao Yu clean the restroom to write a 10,000-word self-criticism, knowing full well the hardship involved. What he didn't expect was that several girls also suffered to help him write. His heart was filled with warmth. Tao Yu held the inspection tightly in his hand and slowly transformed it in his hand. The inspection he wrote on the spiritual technique passed. Once again, he brazenly refused to lose face. But cleaning the toilet? As a steward, how can he establish himself in front of the new disciples by doing this in the future? What else can I do? I can only continue to be shameless. I'm giving up being a decent person. Tao Yu picked up the head and revealed a rogue smile. Blue Autumn Yun reflected on having someone else write for her. You are disrespecting the rules of the cultivation sect. He looked at Elegant Ling, Aurelia Luo, and Ariel Mu again. What are you thinking about now? This is Blue Autumn Yun's reflection, but you are writing it for him instead. You think the rules are just child's play. Aurelia Luo frowned and replied, Steward Senior Brother, I will write the reflection myself. Our ghostwriting services are our own mistake and have nothing to do with Junior Brother. Tao Yu interrupted Aurelia Luo immediately after realizing his guilt. Do you have a say in this? Are you the steward or am I the steward? You ignored discipline and continue to cover up. It seems that it needs to be reported to be dealt with by the cultivation sect. None of you can escape today, and all will be punished. As for you, Blue Autumn Yun, get ready to be demoted to the menial hall. Blue Autumn Yun stared coldly at Tao Yu. Even if Tao Yu offended him, he could choose not to make a big deal out of it. But Tao Yu actually insulted his sister. Tao Yu was proud and eager for Blue Autumn Yun to make a move. This way, he would have the opportunity to get back at him thoroughly. Just as he was about to continue provoking, a clear and pleasant voice suddenly came from beside him. A majestic steward actually had to clean the toilets of the entire cultivation sect. Even more surprisingly, the top 4 beauties of the cultivation sect all helped Blue Autumn Yun write a 10,000-word self-criticism. As expected, Moon Han also succumbed to it. Just as Tao Yu was about to continue provoking, a clear and pleasant voice suddenly came from beside. Steward, you said that hiring someone to ghostwrite is considered sheltering. Then I am also guilty of sheltering. Tao Yu was greatly surprised to not notice someone appearing by her side. When she turned around, she was surprised to see it was Moon Han. All the disciples were also amazed. Moon Han actually helped Blue Autumn Yun write a self-criticism. Tao Yu was completely dumbfounded. Moon Han, as the sect master's closed-door disciple, actually helped this kid write a self-criticism. What kind of reasoning is this? Moon Han stood beside Blue Autumn Yun with no expression on his face. His voice was devoid of joy or sorrow, making it difficult to figure out. Tao Yu quivered as she said, "Of course not." Moon Han nodded slightly and said, "I heard you were going to punish someone else just now. Are you going to protect me just because I am a sect master's disciple?" The invisible aura emanating from Moon Han made Tao Yu speechless, and sweat covered his forehead. Moon Han stayed in seclusion all the time, a typical cultivator homebody. But just at this moment, she appeared and seemed to be targeting him. This was really a stroke of bad luck. Moon Han moved her slender wrists to write a lengthy self-criticism, causing my hand to ache. Tao Yu was so scared that she was shivering. After all, Moon Han, the Immortal Maiden, is the sect master's most favored disciple. If she speaks even a little to the sect master, she might be done for. Tao Yu nodded quickly and smiled, looking at Blue Autumn Yun. I am willing to bet and admit defeat if junior brother performs well in his studies and gets full marks. As for cleaning the restroom, I will do it. The restroom in the first cloud pavilion will definitely be cleaned thoroughly, and I welcome junior brother to inspect it. At this moment, Tao Yu's attitude is gentle and completely different from his previous arrogance. In addition, junior brother Yun, I will personally apologize to you later. In the future, feel free to ask if you need my help. Senior brother will definitely assist you. Tao Yu feels heartbroken. Let's get through this current situation first, and then find an opportunity for revenge later. Otherwise, how can we continue to survive within the cultivation sect in the future? Blue Autumn Yun smiled and said, "Okay, let's go with senior brother's suggestion. But there's something I didn't explain clearly. The bet we made wasn't just about the restroom in the first cloud pavilion, but the entire cultivation sect's restroom." Tao Yu's face turned green instantly upon hearing that it was the entire cultivation sect's restroom. Junior brother, are you joking? There are thousands of people in the cultivation sect. When will I finish cleaning up? Blue Autumn Yun just looked at him lightly. That senior brother seems to be having second thoughts. Tao Yu wanted to erupt, but Moon Han stared at him expressionlessly. He swallowed the saliva and struggled inwardly. In the end, he gritted his teeth and squeezed out, "Fine, I'll do it." Blue Autumn Yun continued immediately. As for Verdant Miss Peak, there's no need to trouble them. I'm afraid of dirtying senior brother, no need to be grateful. Tao Yu shuddered all over, almost spitting out a mouthful of blood. Fellow junior and senior disciples had tears in their hearts, and they left one after another. The closer they were to this person, the more uncomfortable they felt. It was better to focus on cultivation than to stay beside and endure unnecessary suffering. And Blue Autumn Yun has also gained another title, the Immortal of Constant Love. Returning to this moment, Blue Autumn Yun felt two strong auras of killing intent behind her. Beads of sweat the size of soybeans rolled down from her forehead. Things were not looking good. She was on the verge of collapsing. She had barely managed to deceive them yesterday, but it probably wouldn't be as easy today. He felt a deep pain inside, completely unable to understand Moon Han's actions. There is no deep grudge between them, so why is she making things difficult for herself? Ariel Mu obediently stayed on the side and made way, becoming a gossiping bystander with a curious heart. Blue Autumn Yun's shoulders were gently tapped, and two wafts of fragrance hit the nose. Blue Autumn Yun broke out in a cold sweat. Blue Autumn, you indeed have a close relationship with Immortal Maiden Han. She even helped you write a 10,000-word self-criticism. Blue Autumn Yun turned around, just about to explain when Aurelia Luo lightly placed a finger on Blue Autumn Yun's lips. Smiling, she gestured for silence. Junior brother, no need to say anything, both Little Elegant and I understand. Haha, men. Elegant Ling's face was full of jealousy at this moment, and she said indignantly, You said at the beginning that it had nothing to do with others. But she keeps coming to you time after time, and you just can't resist it. Look at Immortal Maiden Han, still looking at you. The look in her eyes is so affectionate. Aurelia Luo continued with a smile. Not to mention, her posture is so pitiful. Presumably, only by having such a posture can Immortal Maiden match up with Junior Brother and Little Elegant, and I won't be third wheels. Blue Autumn Yun was very frustrated and quickly grabbed the hands of the two girls. Wait a minute, it's really a misunderstanding. I have only met her a few times. There is no messy relationship between us. Please wait a moment. Blue Autumn Yun immediately turned around and begged for mercy. Moon Han, senior sister, please say something. I am about to die. Moon Han blinked her eyes for a moment, then pointed to a small grove nearby. Can we talk in the grove over there? Blue Autumn Yun stood frozen in place. At this moment, she had an impulse to set the mountain on fire. Elegant Ling turned angrily and said, Senior sister, let's go! Aurelia Luo nodded with a smile. She winked at Blue Autumn Yun and said, Senior sister, let's get along well. I look forward to hearing good news from you. Blue Autumn Yun awkwardly extended her arm. The two sisters ignored it and walked away. Ariel Mu followed the two of them and left together. The crowd could only watch as Blue Autumn Yun sighed, with her head tilted upwards. At that moment, Moon Han walked over. Can you chat with me in the small grove? Blue Autumn Yun's mouth twitched. All right. Today, I will go with you to have a deep conversation in the small grove. I'm curious to see what you have to say. The first goddess of the cultivation sect repeatedly asked this man to meet her in the small grove. What does she want to do? There is a small slope covered with peach blossoms in Guiyuan Sword Valley, known as Lover Slope. Many cultivating couples with hidden feelings often stroll around here from time to time. When they arrived here, Blue Autumn Yun immediately became hesitant. If they really went inside, things could get complicated. So, they changed their plan and went to the nearby attic instead. Many fellow disciples passing by were quite surprised. Some of them stopped by the roadside. When did Moon Han and Immortal Maiden have a cultivating couple? Moon Han ignored those who were pointing and talking. She generously took Blue Autumn Yun up the attic and sat down after finding a vacant seat. Blue Autumn Yun said in silence, Elder sister, just tell me if there's anything on your mind. Moon Han took out a peach blossom he picked downstairs and put it behind his ear, then sat back and looked at Blue Autumn Yun. I'm not that old to be called elder sister. I might even be younger than you. Blue Autumn Yun looked at Moon Han up and down, noticing his attractive appearance and well-defined curves. No matter how you look at it, you seem to be around 17 or 18 years old. May I ask Immortal Maiden how old you are? Moon Han looked very sincerely into their eyes and said, 15. Blue Autumn Yun was surprised that being 15 could have such long legs like yours. If they grow a bit longer, they might catch up to my senior sister. Moon Han lightly lifted the robe and touched his thighs. It might be due to diligently cultivating his body techniques. What about your chest? After saying that, Blue Autumn Yun quickly covered her mouth. She felt crazy for blurting out such vulgar words. She thought to herself, "Oh no, I'm doomed." Quiet for a few seconds, Moon Han gently touched her perky chest. "I practice the Cultivate Jade body technique to maintain my looks and figure. It shouldn't be too surprising," she said. Blue Autumn Yun was speechless for a moment. She realized she had blurted out some inappropriate words in her excitement. If it were another girl, she might have received a slap across the face. But this Moon Han Immortal Maiden answered in all seriousness. Is being straightforward a bit too much? Come to think of it, she really does resemble her own disciple a bit. Blue Autumn Yun shivered. If it were her own little disciple, they could banter together. But dealing with a girl who takes everything seriously like this is troublesome. She has no idea how to handle it. Without waiting for him to speak, Moon Han spoke first. "According to age, I should call you brother." But then she suddenly paused. It seemed calling him brother felt a bit awkward. She wanted to add a bit of emotional color to her tone. "Big brother Blue Autumn." Blue Autumn Yun quickly waved his hand in refusal, saying, No, I couldn't dare." He was so scared that he almost knelt down to beg for mercy. If he were to be called that in front of his wives, he would probably have to face their anger head-on. Moon Han saw Blue Autumn Yun on guard and sighed softly. "Don't worry, I have no ill intentions towards you." But then she suddenly had another thought. "No, you seem quite pleasant. And you also have the dual variation spiritual root. If we were to practice dual cultivation, it would be a good match. In some time, I will also be at the age to find a cultivating couple." When Blue Autumn Yun heard this, he almost choked. He coughed wildly for a while, then looked faintly at senior sister Moon Han. "If you have something to say, just say it. Please, I beg you." He heard that Moon Han rarely went out except for seclusion. He actually wanted to see what this little hermit-like girl had to say to him. Moon Han closed his eyes to collect his thoughts. "Have you heard about the recent task announcement from Blue Vast Domain? Over the years, there have been quite a few demon cultivators from the dark sect appearing in the Cultivation World. In order to prevent chaos, major forces within Blue Vast Domain have united to organize the Demon Execution Order to eradicate the dark sect. The task has been disseminated to various regions where cultivation sects are responsible for assigning their disciples to carry it out. The cultivation sects are highly cooperative in this endeavor. Firstly, they can eradicate the dark sect in exchange for stability within the region. Secondly, this can enhance the disciples and allow them to gain experience through trials. With the experience of life and death battles, disciples will also undergo tremendous transformation. Those who perform outstandingly in the Demon Execution Order mission not only will receive rewards from the cultivation sect, but also be appreciated by the Blue Vast Domain. These people even have the qualifications to enter the Blue Vast Domain and the ancient immortal cultivation ruins jointly controlled by various major sects to seek significant opportunities. In addition, the Demon Execution Order will also serve as an important bonus point for the Cultivator Youth list of the Blue Vast Domain. Upon making it onto the list, one will receive great attention within the Blue Vast Domain. As long as someone makes it onto the list, they will basically soar to great heights. Even the cultivation sect will benefit from the glory. If a disciple on the list is chosen by a major sect, they will be allocated a large amount of resources as compensation for the disciple. If lucky, they may even be supported for development as a sect under their command. Moreover, the rewards for each ranking list are extremely tempting. For example, the Dam Refining list offers the Insights Manual from a Potion Refining Master. The Beast Taming list, on the other hand, rewards with a spiritual beast cub that inherits the bloodline of a sacred beast. In any case, the Demon Execution Order holds great significance for both individuals and sects. Blue Autumn Yun is puzzled and confused. So what senior sister Han meant after saying so much is? Moon Han said very seriously, Although Guiyuan Sword Valley has a place in the Mu province capital, it has been weak for many years without making any remarkable achievements. If this continues, it will definitely be replaced by other cultivation sects. I have been silent for 2 years since I started. It's time to do something. At this time, a servant dressed as a disciple came to the attic, looking at Moonhan nervously. It turns out to be the Immortal Maiden Moonhan of the cultivation sect. He coughed and placed a menu on the table. Would you like to order some tea? Blue Autumn Yun scanned the menu. Emerald Sound Tea, Miracle Spirit Tea, and there's also an Earth Leaf Tea that I've never heard of. Blue Autumn Yun randomly pointed at the Earth Leaf Tea. The disciple dressed as a servant twitched at the corner of his mouth, wondering what this guy was up to. He shook his head and left without offering the mediocre tea to the cultivation sect goddess. In a moment, 2 cups of dark tea were brought over. Blue Autumn Yun pushed 1 cup in front of Moonhan. Senior sister has high ambitions. I admire her lofty aspirations. But what does it have to do with me? Moonhan immediately took over. Of course, it is relevant. I want you to team up with me, and the merits can be shared equally. This way you can gain the attention of the cultivation sect. I have water earth with triple spiritual roots, while you possess the water with mutants ice wind element spiritual roots. I have an advanced spirit technique. If we cooperate in cultivation, we will definitely reach a higher realm. Blue Autumn Yun narrowed her eyes slightly. Senior sister should be able to find a cultivator with the same spiritual root as you. It is not necessary to have a variation spiritual root in order to cultivate together. Upon hearing this, Moonhan continued, during the battle with you, I found that your spiritual energy is particularly strong. It should be long-lasting. I do not like short-lived cultivation. It would be best if we could endure together for several months or even years. Blue Autumn Yun looked at Moonhan strangely as she listened to his words, finding them increasingly strange. Upon careful thought, it seemed similar to dual cultivation. Could it be that she also wants to absorb my energy? She is originally the #1 goddess of the cultivation sect. She has always cultivated in seclusion and rarely leaves her home. But now she unexpectedly frequently appears for the man in front of her. She even invited him to the small grove 3 or 4 times. Faced with Blue Autumn Yun's question, Moonhan hesitated with words on the tip of his tongue. After a pause, he looked at Blue Autumn Yun and said, you look pleasing to the eye, not letting me feel disgusted. Your meaning is to praise my handsomeness. You are a fan of my looks. Moonhan doesn't know how to respond. He nodded blankly, acknowledging that he does have some delicate features. Blue Autumn Yun looked at the scenery outside the window with a dark expression. Being recognized for her looks despite being talented did make her feel somewhat disheartened. However, it has to be said that she does have good taste. She is willing to accept this praise. Moonhan was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he felt that this person was a bit shameless. After a while, she took out a small jade box from her robe and placed it in front of Blue Autumn Yun. This is the spiritual advancement Dan pill given to me by the sect master when I first joined the cultivation sect. It can increase the probability of breaking through levels. However, I did not need medicinal assistance for my foundation stage and core formation stage breakthroughs, so you should be able to make use of it. I do not know the method of refining Dan pills, like Blue Autumn Yun. After thinking for a moment, Blue Autumn Yun also took out a jade box. I do not like owing things to others. Inside, there is some spiritual elixir that can help you stay clear-minded and prevent falling into demonic ways. Moonhan was surprised to find that the medicinal fragrance emanating from this jade box was extremely strong. Its value was even higher than her own third-ranked Dan pills. She was quite puzzled. How could a novice disciple have such valuable Dan pills? I'm not very interested in the Demon Execution Order or the youth rankings. I am quite content with my current cultivating life. It's getting late now, so I'll take my leave. After he left, Moonhan picked up the jade box and gently opened it. Inside was a pile of very high-quality refreshing Dan pills, and the fragrance of the medicine was refreshing. Just smelling the scent made her feel revitalized. In addition, there is a book inside. Moonhan curiously flipped through the pages, her eyes widening. A hint of blush rose on her cheeks. This book is interesting. When he returned to Verdant Mist Peak, it was already afternoon. Blue Autumn stood at the gate for more than 10 minutes. He gritted his teeth and walked in. He was anxious. Last time, he had to deceive and coax to calm them down. This time, it seems that the two of them were filled with murderous intent and not easy to placate. Blue Autumn couldn't help but sigh. Sometimes, being too charming is also a kind of sin. He entered the attic and knocked on Ariel Mu's door first. After the door was opened, Ariel Mu looked at Blue Autumn, who had a worried look on his face, and asked in confusion, "Little Autumn, weren't you supposed to be on a date with Moonhan, senior sister? Is it over?" Blue Autumn was almost choked by a sentence. He grinds his teeth and says cautiously, "Little senior sister, be careful what you say." Ariel Mu quickly changed her tune and said, "I'm sorry. What does Little Autumn want from me?" Blue Autumn sighed. "How are Little Elegant and the first senior sister doing? What is their condition?" Ariel Mu told him that both of them were a bit excited. They went back to their rooms after eating. Little Elegant didn't cultivate, and Sister Aurelia didn't go to take a bath with me. Hearing this, Blue Autumn felt uneasy. So he decided to find a way to coax them. He decided to go to Elegant Ling's room on the first floor first. Just as he was about to knock on the door, a voice from inside said, "Come in." Blue Autumn was startled and gently pushed the door open to peek inside. Elegant Ling was tidying up the room. Before he could say anything, Elegant Ling spoke first. "I thought you were spending the night outside and not coming back." Elegant Ling folded his slender legs and looked at Blue Autumn, saying softly, "It's quite unexpected for you to come back so early." He quickly explained, "How could I not come back? Little Elegant, you misunderstood." He just sat down next to Elegant Ling. However, he was quickly pushed away by her with disdain. "Don't sit next to me. You smell like Moonhan. Stay away from me." Elegant Ling sullenly sorted out her clothes, looking like she didn't want to deal with him. Blue Autumn scratched her head and sat down across from Elegant Ling with a small stool. "Little Elegant, don't misunderstand. There's really nothing between us. Look at your pale face. Don't be angry." Elegant Ling huffed. "Flirting with girls must be so much fun for you. If you're happy, then I'm happy too. There's no need to be angry." Blue Autumn continued, "There's nothing going on." But Elegant Ling got even angrier. "Just because someone pursues you, you think you can get away with anything. Are you trying to say that the world doesn't revolve around you?" Blue Autumn's head ached for a moment. She fell silent for a few seconds, then took out a beautifully crafted storage ring that she had originally intended as a birthday gift for her. It seemed more important to cheer up the girl now. "Little Elegant, could you take a look at what this is?" Elegant Ling turned her head to indicate that she didn't want to look. However, the brilliance of the storage ring under the reflection of sunlight is particularly dazzling. She couldn't help but glance to the side. She couldn't help but open her mouth slightly when she saw the ring. Is this a storage ring? The exquisite design of this storage ring looks valuable at first glance. Flying on an artifact and owning a storage ring that can hold a bunch of beautiful clothes is her dream. She can hardly believe that one of them has actually come true. Elegant Ling suddenly looked a little envious. She seemed to be hesitating whether to accept or not. Before she could make a decision, Blue Autumn directly put the storage ring on her finger. Elegant Ling neatly put away the stack of clothes. With her hands holding her face, she looked at Blue Autumn and said, "I'm not really angry. If I were angry, I wouldn't even talk to you. I'm just a little sad and jealous." Blue Autumn was slightly startled. "You're jealous?" Elegant Ling lowered her head to look at the storage ring on her finger. "Yes, I'm jealous. My childhood sweetheart was taken by another woman." Elegant Ling looked at Blue Autumn with a grievance. "What can I do? I want to stay with you all the time. If the items are upset and ignore you, what should I do if you don't come to me? I'm afraid you'll be taken away and never talk to me again. Blue Autumn Yun looked at the dejected girl and felt a little sorry. Leaning forward, he took Elegant Ling's hand and gently comforted her. What are you thinking about? You are my favorite cutie pie. How could I ignore you? Don't overthink it. Elegant Ling blushed and shook her head. Oh, it wouldn't be good if someone heard us. Blue Autumn Yun chuckled and said, Then let's keep it a secret, just like doing something naughty without letting others know. Elegant Ling's face turned red with embarrassment. I'm not going to do anything naughty with you. Elegant Ling playfully pulled his cheeks with both hands. Bad guy, who knows how many girls you will flirt with in the future? She crossed her arms with a serious expression. It seems like I have to find a way to become stronger. If you disappoint me by being with other girls in the future, I will come looking for you. Blue Autumn Yun smiled and lightly flicked Elegant Ling's nose. Sure, then you can beat me up. Elegant Ling pouted. I don't think I can bear to hit you. How about I destroy your house, steal your things, and leave you penniless? Then you'll have to follow me around. Elegant Ling blushed and turned away shyly. The more she looked at the ring, the more she liked it. A sweet feeling filled her heart, like eating honey. The man went to the small forest alone with the first goddess of the cultivation sect. He has made both his primary and secondary wives jealous. Now he has to appease them one by one. Blue Autumn Yun glanced at Elegant Ling and said, Why hasn't our darling broken through the refinement stage successfully these days? Elegant Ling sighed helplessly when mentioning cultivation. How do I know? I always feel like something is missing. It's always just a little short. But after adequate preparation, I find even more lacking. It's all because of that fragmented technique spiritual energy article you gave me. I can't even draw out spiritual energy for replenishment. Blue Autumn Yun raised an eyebrow. How about making it up to me tonight by letting me help you break through? Elegant Ling couldn't help but be curious. How can I help with the breakthrough? Blue Autumn Yun chuckled and said, Just let me absorb you easily. Elegant Ling was taken aback. Then, she couldn't help but recall certain dreamlike scenes. She shyly stepped back, saying, What are you saying? I would never do that to you. Don't even think about it. Living with two senior sisters, how do I handle the noise they make? Blue Autumn Yun looked at Elegant Ling and said, Are you feeling strange? I suspect you are in heat. He quickly said seriously, Okay, let's stop joking around. When I said suck, I meant providing some spiritual energy to help you break through. Elegant Ling blinked in confusion and asked, Can spiritual energy be transferred as well? Blue Autumn Yun smiled faintly and said, It may be difficult for others to achieve, but we find it quite simple. Elegant Ling followed his instructions and turned around. Blue Autumn Yun sat behind Elegant Ling, with both hands resting on her neck. The golden lines moved along with the fingers, creating complex patterns behind Elegant Ling. The acupoints where the spiritual vein and spiritual array intersect behind Elegant Ling shimmered like stars. Blue Autumn Yun gently touched those acupoints, actively injecting spiritual energy into them. Elegant Ling's body trembled slightly, feeling an unprecedented sense of comfort. Her blood vessels all over her body seemed to be activated, radiating vitality, as if craving for spiritual energy. Give me more quicker. I want more. In the continuous infusion of spiritual energy, Elegant Ling shimmered with a golden light as the sea of spiritual energy expanded. Spiritual energy is joyfully circulating within the body. The watery eyes gradually brimmed with golden light as the cultivation level rapidly increased. Far beyond his expectations, Elegant Ling's combat strength is too strong. It made him shudder with fear, and in the blink of an eye, night had fallen. It is truly worthy of being a heavenly spirit body, a bit difficult to satisfy. Blue Autumn Yun took a deep breath and wiped the sweat beads off his face. He felt like he hadn't been this tired for a long time. He walked quietly out of the corridor. To his surprise, Ariel Mu was still not asleep. She leaned out the window, looking at Blue Autumn Yun as if to ask how it was going. Blue Autumn Yun gave Ariel Mu a thumbs-up gesture, indicating that the issue had been resolved. Then she quietly made her way up to the second floor. I wonder if the first senior sister is asleep. Blue Autumn Yun hesitated for a moment in front of the door, and then gently knocked. Light footsteps were heard, and the door was quickly opened. Aurelia Luo walked out towards him. What's the matter coming so late? Blue Autumn Yun rubbed his hands. Seeing senior sister is not happy, I came over to cheer her up. Can we go in? Aurelia Luo glanced at Blue Autumn Yun and turned back to her room. Blue Autumn Yun hesitated for a moment and followed her in. It was the first time Blue Autumn Yun entered Aurelia Luo's boudoir. There were ink paintings hanging on the walls. The folding screen in the room was covered with graceful and elegant calligraphy. A censer was placed next to the folding screen. The drifting green smoke carried a distinct fragrance. Aurelia Luo sat on the bed at this moment, wearing a nightgown. Her perfect curves were revealed in sight. The alluring long legs lifted. He saw those captivating jade-like legs. Blue Autumn Yun took a sharp breath. This nightgown paired with long legs is truly seductive. If those pulp novels could use Aurelia Luo as the cover model, they would definitely sell out. Aurelia Luo casually asked if Little Elegant was appeased. Blue Autumn Yun nodded. Is Little Elegant closer to the first senior sister, and she is angry? Aurelia Luo said disdainfully. No, I'm not. What is there to be angry about? You are just his senior sister. Why should I care about your relationship with other women? Blue Autumn Yun chuckled and said, Senior sister was just joking. My relationship with senior sister is pretty good too. Senior sister did my hair and made snacks for me. That day she even wore my hairpin and pretty clothes. Aurelia Luo gave Blue Autumn Yun a stern look. I thought you had forgotten. Blue Autumn Yun tentatively sat down by Aurelia Luo's bed. How could I forget when a lifetime is still not enough? Senior sister, don't be mad. I've come to apologize. Please give me a chance, okay? Aurelia Luo looked at Blue Autumn Yun with a pleading puppy look. The anger in her heart couldn't help but dissipate. She then placed her fair and beautiful legs on Blue Autumn Yun's lap. She picked up the nail polish nearby and said, Help me paint my nails. If you do a good job, then I'll consider forgiving you. Blue Autumn Yun gently held the delicate jade-like foot, took the small brush to dip into the nail polish. However, he accidentally dripped it onto her leg. Blue Autumn Yun quickly wiped Aurelia Luo's thigh, the familiar feeling of smooth warmth in his hands. Aurelia Luo bites her lip, wanting to scold him. But seeing the young man she likes painting her nails seriously, she feels somewhat satisfied. She hums a few times, rolls her eyes, and remains silent. Aurelia Luo leaned against the wall and asked softly, Moon Han, what brings you here? A man and a woman alone together can't possibly be up to anything good, right? Blue Autumn Yun was speechless and said, Senior sister, don't joke around. There's nothing inappropriate going on. Moon Han just asked me if I wanted to join him on a hunting mission. Aurelia Luo smiled and said to Blue Autumn Yun, Why don't they find you? Come and have a good chat with senior sister. Men always have to pamper their wives, no matter what. Even the most powerful Blue Emperor cannot escape this fate. He comforted his two wives, and by the time they came out, it was already getting light. Blue Autumn Yun felt a hint of luck in his heart. Fortunately, before coming here, he found a place to refine and take the secret formula given by Shushu. The two women felt resentment in their hearts, but their appetites were greatly aroused. If it weren't for their bodies being nourished in advance, they were afraid they would have died at the hands of the women. In the future, when their cultivation levels rise, they may still be unable to withstand it, and will have to continue seeking medical treatment. Blue Autumn Yun pondered as she went downstairs. When she turned back to her room, she found that Ariel Mu was still awake, leaning against the window lost in thought. Little senior sister, it's almost dawn, aren't you going to rest? Ariel Mu looked at him and chuckled. Little brother Autumn is really impressive to be able to hold out with two women for so long. He is really amazing. Blue Autumn Yun fell silent for a moment. Little senior sister, please don't say that I did something inappropriate. Ariel Mu is very clever. So you're saying that she did everything except for something inappropriate. Blue Autumn Yun was at a loss for words when being blocked, so quickly changed the topic. In a few days, Cultivation Sect is about to collect resources for offering. Tomorrow, I will start working hard on potion refining with little senior sister. Although there isn't much time left, miracles may still be possible. Little senior sister, get some rest early. Ariel Mu pointed at herself, and then pointed at Blue Autumn Yun, indicating that the two of us will do potion refining together. She lowered her head shyly. Little Autumn, in his wickedness, finally reached out his claws towards me. Ariel Mu immediately withdrew her head back into the window to go to sleep. Only Blue Autumn Yun was left looking confused. She couldn't figure out what on earth she was talking about. In the morning, Elegant Ling and Aurelia Luo sat at the dining table looking radiant. The two goddesses had a moist and satisfied look on their faces. It seems that their appearance has also improved a bit. Blue Autumn Yun picked up the porridge served by Elegant Ling. When he looked up, he found the two women propping their chins and staring at him. With a longing expression on their faces, he trembled all over and immediately lowered his head to eat. Just finished breakfast. A figure suddenly appeared outside the courtyard of Verdant Mist Peak. A disciple dressed in steward robe shouted loudly, "All from Verdant Mist Peak can come out!" Upon hearing the shout, they immediately stopped what they were doing and putting away the dishes and chopsticks. A group of people quickly walked out of the courtyard. Aurelia Luo asked in confusion, "What's the matter, junior brother?" The disciple looked at the three beautiful young ladies on Verdant Mist Peak. He glanced at Blue Autumn Yun, and a hint of envy appeared on his face. The Cultivation Sect meeting will be held in the afternoon. The person in charge of each peak must attend. Upon hearing this, Ariel Mu immediately lowered her head with a worried expression. After all, Verdant Mist Peak always ranks last at this time every year. Whenever it is mentioned, she is ridiculed by a group of people. Being singled out in front of everyone is truly humiliating for the two women. Ariel Mu never wants to experience that feeling again. She started potion refining early this year just to avoid being singled out again. But who knew that the Aurelia Luo Merchant Association ran into trouble? Dan pills have no accumulation at all. It seems that this year may be worse than previous years. Aurelia Luo quickly reassured Ariel Mu that it's not that bad. In previous years, the disciples who passed on the messages always gave us various unfriendly looks. This year, their attitude has improved quite a bit. Blue Autumn Yun is puzzled as to why this is. The three women all looked at Blue Autumn Yun together. Even the Cultivation Sect steward was taken by you to clean the toilets. Can you explain why? The Cultivation Sect usually holds a dedication ceremony once a year, aiming to remind and urge each peak to not slack off. Guiyuan Sword Valley replenishes its stock every year by requesting resources from various peaks. The main purpose is to enhance the cohesion of each peak and strengthen the sense of collective honor. The top-performing peaks will receive rewards, while those with poor performance will be punished. One prospers, all prosper. One fails, all fail. In addition, collecting resources also helps to train the disciples' abilities. In short, there are many benefits. The various peaks are basically all gathered on the square. Just as they entered the square, several female cultivators walked towards Aurelia Luo together. They have a close relationship with Aurelia Luo, who is a female cultivator from another peak. They often make appointments to bathe together. At this time, a female cultivator noticed Blue Autumn Yun behind her. Aurelia Luo quickly introduced everyone. Just then, a handsome young man walked towards the square, surrounded by many disciples. His name is Xiangsan Qin, one of the sect master's direct disciples, and the senior brother of Moon Han. Lately, he has been quite troubled. The small homebody who is obsessed with cultivating unexpectedly has left seclusion. Being a qualified toady, he naturally is eager for junior sister to come out more, so he can communicate with her and try to win her heart. But Moon Han remains as aloof and indifferent to him as usual. However, This is normal, after all. She is the first goddess of the cultivation sect. If she wasn't aloof, he wouldn't be fawning over her. But the news he recently heard almost scared him to death. Moon Han has been quite close with a new disciple who just joined the sect. They had exchanged pointers at the cultivation field some time ago. Publicly invited the other person into the small forest in front of many people. Then she also went to sit in on the lecture. What's more important is hearing other disciples saying that they gave the newcomer Moon Han's biscuits to eat. Remember, Moon Han's biscuits are untouchable. Once, Master Skyflame accidentally tasted Moon Han's teddy bear biscuits. Moon Han was so angry on the spot that he didn't speak to him for half a month. She took the initiative to give away the small biscuits and even helped write a 10,000-word self-criticism. It's really thought-provoking. As a noble alchemist and a direct disciple of the cultivation sect, Xiang Qin, who has always had a sense of superiority, felt defeated. He was unexpectedly defeated by a new and unknown rookie. He naturally wanted to see what strength the new disciple possessed. To have captivated Moon Han like this. Unfortunately, he had urgent matters to attend to, and couldn't arrange a chance encounter. He could only look around while passing by the cultivation sect square, see if he could catch a glimpse of Blue Autumn Yun before leaving. As he walked past a few people, he suddenly heard the conversation of some disciples. Blue Autumn Yun is so popular with women. He was actually surrounded by a group of female cultivators. How many harems does he need to satisfy himself? Xiang Qin stopped and looked around. Sure enough, he saw a person in new disciple robes. It must be Blue Autumn Yun. Blue Autumn Yun was having a lively conversation with a group of female cultivators. He even gave them some medicine in person. Seeing this, Xiang Qin walked over with a smile. It seems a bit lively here. The female cultivators turned around and were surprised to see Xiang Qin. They quickly bowed and greeted. Senior brother Qin, hello. Aurelia Luo also made a slight bow and whispered. Junior brother, you shouldn't be flirting with others. Moon Han senior brother is coming to look for trouble with you. Xiang Qin raised his hand to signal everyone not to bow. Then he stared at Blue Autumn Yun and said, Earlier, this junior brother said you are an alchemist. Xiang Qin is currently the most outstanding young alchemist in the cultivation sect. His potion refining skills are formidable, and he holds a very high position within the cultivation sect. When Blue Autumn Yun first joined, he also heard many rumors about Xiang Qin. Blue Autumn Yun smiled. I'm just practicing for fun. I can't be called an alchemist. Xiang Qin looked at Blue Autumn Yun with a gradually disdainful expression. To not even dare admit the identity of an alchemist, she must be one of those mediocre practitioners who can only refine simple Dan pills. Yet she still dares to boast in front of female cultivators. There isn't much medicinal scent on her body, and her hair is luxuriant, showing that she is not a character worthy of attention. He looked very disappointed. That's a shame indeed. He originally wanted to exchange potion refining techniques with junior brother. It would be better to practice more in the future. Only after understanding the basics can he have a conversation with me. Although he appeared to be encouraging junior brother to work hard on the surface, his tone was full of disdain. The implication was that junior brother was not qualified to speak to him. The mockery on his face was also clearly visible. Xiang Qin deliberately mentioned his identity as an alchemist, wanting to firmly suppress Blue Autumn Yun, making him understand from the bottom of his heart that his status in both cultivation level and potion refining was completely overshadowed. This kid clearly brought trouble upon himself. He will eventually realize